when you just drip paint, I think it can look kind of nice, because like around the edges it seems to be the darker shade of black, and then in the middle it's white, which is weird because there wasn't any white, it was just water and paint. But you know, it won't dry like that, it will all just mix together when it dries. But there's this, I guess there's like the moments where before paint dries it looks different, you know, it's sort of raised because it's wet and it's not mixed and stuff, it just does what it wants. Yeah, you don't, yeah, I'm not going to wait for paint dry, that's not a thing. No. I was thinking about taboos, like things that are taken to be things that you shouldn't talk about, or are just seen as really difficult to talk about, I guess. Like sex or drugs or money or things like that. They're like social taboos, because I guess you could talk about those things, but it would socially be a bit awkward and weird to do so, and people would not be inclined to share very much about those topics. But I was thinking that if you're in a relationship or you're dating with someone or something, at some point you're gonna have to come across almost all of the taboos. Almost all of them. Because at some point, well, even straight away, if you go on a date with someone, there might be who pays for, you know, who pays for it when the bill comes at the end of the meal or whatever. You might have straight away, in terms of money, you'd be instantly on the discussion of who pays. But in the long run as well, there's who works, who doesn't work, whether you both work, who contributes, whether you contribute equally or what. There's, you know, as a couple, at some point, and I don't know how people do it really, especially now, because socially at the moment, anyone could be the one working or staying at home or anything. There isn't a norm or something that one gender looks after the other so much, you know. So it could go anyway. So yeah, I think money must be kind of awkward for people at the moment. I guess it's awkward in total because you've got to figure out who's going to do what. And in a relationship, I guess if you put your money together, then you're trusting the other person with your money, you know. Even though everyone's different in the way that they spend money. Or, you know, how much you're willing to spend in certain areas or whatever. Everyone's sort of a bit different in those manners. But I guess it does seem sort of unusual or hard to do at this moment. It's like an odd concept, because I guess at the moment like, it's not something spoken about, money, I guess, and it's really awkward to speak about. Which means that there isn't like a practice run for it, you know. Yeah, but still, you come across all of the taboos in such a relationship. Definitely, at some point, you'd come across sex, and you would have to engage in such a thing. And I imagine, well, if you get to the stage where you have children, then eventually you'd have to discuss whether or not you're okay with vaccinating your children, or how you're going to deal with their medical issues or anything that arises like that. So basically, in a relationship, you suddenly have to come across all of the things that you never speak about with anyone else. Yeah, practically all of them. It's just unusual, I guess. I imagine it would be interesting to know how different people deal with suddenly having to bring up all the taboos and stuff. You know, how couples get, how they deal with those conversations or situations, or how they go about it. I have no experience of such things occurring. It would be interesting though, sociologically. I suppose that now these are the intimate details of your life. I suppose then there must be like two different definitions of intimate, like whether you're touching someone or actually physically engaging with someone on an intimate level, or whether you're like mentally engaging with someone on an intimate level. You're sharing the intimate details of your life with someone. You're giving up details of yourself that you've not shared at all with anyone else. Like, I don't think anyone else knows about how I go about banking or whatever, or any of the taboo subjects. I don't think I've ever discussed children's vaccinations or anything like that with people. All those things that you've never talked about, or whatever. Sex and money and all of them. You'd suddenly have to do that, and those would be the details of your life that I guess would make you feel exposed and vulnerable in a manner. But you do so because you have chosen that person. You trust them with those things. But it still must be very difficult for people. I don't know how they do it. It doesn't seem to get mentioned on TV shows or films either, not that I've seen anyway. When couples or something in films or whatever ask their partner to move in with them, they don't then sit down and have a discussion about who's going to pay the rent or contributions or whatever. They just move in and they carry on and everything's fine, and that's not part of the storyline. That's still their secret whatever world.